What's up, everybody? It's Zach from Box Alarm Trading, and I had the honor and privilege of talking with Damian from UFC Card Talk. We talk about, rookie prospecting to the Suga Show winning the championship to Tops versus Panini in the future. It's a really good talk. I hope y'all enjoy it. With me, we have the man, the myth, the legend, Damian from UFC Card Talk. Damian, thank you for coming on the show today.
No, you're welcome, Zach. Anytime you and I can sit down and talk about UFC cards, I mean, I can't say no.
All
So,
right. So we've been talking on Instagram, and I wanted to kind of bring up some of these topics with other people and put these out there on the channel. The first one is, we've kind of been seeing like just a slow downtrend with the pricing with UFC cards and kind of that sector in general. So like just a kind of broad scope, what do you think about this? And like, do you have any specific things that you're doing in regards to the slow downtrend of UFC pricing?
yeah, well, obviously, yeah, that's a big one to obviously start off with. I did just check actually before jumping on. Interesting enough, in the last 3 months, the UFC index is down 20%. Over the
Ooh.
last 6 months, it's down 28%. Over the last year, it's down 46%. And over the last 2 years, it's down like 68% or something like that. So
Wow,
it's
60,
getting hammered at the
70%.
moment. I have a few theories. Obviously, don't want to take up all day with just one question, but I do have a few theories
Yeah,
as to
man.
why this is. Obviously, it's no surprise with the overall global financial situation that's happening. Obviously, all markets, whether it's not only cards, UFC cards, but all cards, all collectibles, all stocks and things are sort of struggling at the moment. People just have less money to put towards extracurricular activities, including hobbies. So that's where sports cards obviously are going to suffer to begin with. And then also too, like I honestly, obviously this is just my opinion, but I
Yeah.
think a lot of, not a lot, but I think a good majority of people who were sort of involved in UFC cards were involved mostly in other sports. So I think they jumped into UFC cards a few years ago with the Panini products with the overall sports card hobby increase back in 2020, 2021. I think they jumped in then. Obviously, not only was it UFC, they jumped in with Formula One and all these other sort of more niche sports. And then I think with this tough time at the moment, I think the UFC cards, maybe from their inventory, from their PCs, maybe they're the first cards that they're letting go of in order to make room, maybe to have more money in their pocket, or maybe to then put those hobby dollars somewhere else. So, and the other thing I probably would put it towards is I think a good percentage. So I think the people who are active in UFC community at the moment, a lot of them are familiar with only Panini products. And with that comes, they are more sort of focused on what's new. So they're
Yeah.
going to be more focused on, we just had 2023 selects. So they're putting their money towards 2023 selects. So what that does is that means that they're getting involved in new products, like in boxes, whether they're getting it from online or from a hobby store.
Mm,
And they're getting involved in breaks. So people are putting their hobby dollars towards those, which obviously hurts the index because that's going to hurt,
that's
you
a
know, your
great point.
2022 products, your 2021 products, all the way back to 2009. These individual card sales on eBay and these other platforms, they're suffering because you've got less demand for those at the moment, a
Right.
higher supply.
The the
Um,
the index, does it track just eBay sales?
It tracks gold. It no, it's, I can't tell you off the top of my head, but it's at least 8 different selling platforms, from Golden, PWCC, eBay,
Okay.
Slab, My Slabs, from all the big ones. It tracks all of them. So yeah, it's much
Probably,
broader than just eBay.
but probably not like you're saying with the newer products, the rage for UFC, which I think is really dumb, is the pick your fighter, and like the whatnot breaks. So it's probably not measuring that. So that's actually a really good point that a lot of the dollars that are getting spent in the UFC card market aren't being tracked on that index.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
that's a
I actually don't think Whatnot's on there. Which, I mean, we talked about Whatnot last time.
yeah.
Sounds like I'm still missing out on this platform, but yeah, a lot of money obviously gets put
Mhm.
on Whatnot. So that would be, yeah, another explanation, I would say.
Nice, man. Cool. So with that, you know, the kind of the slow downtrend, how does that influence kind of your plans for buying, for selling? Like what kind of are your strategies, and what are you doing right
Well,
now for that?
yeah, obviously the second part of that great question. I'm in two minds really at the moment because the old school part of me feels like the time to buy is when people are fearful, and
Mm.
people are definitely fearful for right now. The market's down. Um, but the more reserved part of me, obviously, no one's made of money. Like I consider myself very lucky. I've got a very stable job in a very stable industry, so I think my employment's really quite safe. I'm not sure how many people could obviously say that. So I do still have this extra income that I can be spending towards cards monthly.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm sort of like, do I pull the trigger now? Do I buy it? Maybe not overextend myself, but maybe put some extra money into picking up some of these massive cards for not only maybe for my PC, but then also massive cards that I think are going to increase when the market bounces back. Which this is always obviously the other end of it is
Mm.
markets. People don't like to compare sports cards to stocks and things like that, but it's a market regardless. So when we have these massive dips, we generally, as history has shown, it'll bounce back. So whether as I said, I'm in two arms. Do I spend a little bit extra now to pick up some of these bigger cards, as I said, whether it's for the PC that I'm just happy to have because it's almost at all-time lows, or do
Right.
I put this money over here now and like let this card grow in time when the market bounces back, and then sell it for a bit of extra money. So, but as I said, but then it's like, oh, do I spend this money now, or do I just wait a little bit longer to see what happens?
Yeah.
So I'm actually doing a little bit of both at the moment. I mentioned in my last video, I've spent over the past 6 weeks, like I've spent more on cards than I sort of have in the last year in just
Yeah.
6 weeks. So, but at the same time too, like I don't want to, yeah, go too hard out as well, because I think it's still going to come a little bit down more too. But it's hard to imagine it's going to get much cheaper. But we'll see.
Yeah, man. I mean, trying to time the market is always, you know, kind of scary. And I'm totally with you on kind of the analogies from stock market and the card market, not necessarily in an investment perspective, because obviously the stock market is way less volatile than you know, cards. They swing so drastically. But like you were saying, you know, for whatever reason, just like stocks, just like cards, whenever it's going up and it's more expensive, people want to buy more often, which I always think is really funny. It's like if I want a Habib first auto, I want it as cheap as possible. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So so it's like, man, I part of me is relishing that the prices continue to come down, because at the end of the day, I just want cool cards. Now, obviously, I want to make, you know, it's fun. It's fun when your card goes up in value, but I'm kind of happy that the prices continue to fall. It's so much more attainable. You know, I know you have trouble finding actual, you know, like products to break, but as the it continues to come down, it just becomes so much more accessible for us to actually open these products and enjoy, you know, the rip. So great first response. Speaking of you spending some money, let's talk about the UFC Card Father sale that happened. I know you're gonna make a video about this, so if you don't want to, you know, kind of disclose whatever cards you got, that's fine. We don't have to talk about it. But how cool was that, man? I mean, just some amazing cards that he was selling.
it was. Yeah. First off, we can dive right in because that's only just one part of where the money's gone, not all of
Mhm.
it. So I'm happy to share that with you and the other viewers today if you want to get into that. But yeah, man, I was never a part of that Facebook group, but then obviously heard on the Instagram
Me too. I
grapevine
joined.
that the sale was happening. So I was like, I got to get into this
Hmm.
Facebook group to see what's going on, and I never expected actually to. I just wanted to check it out, and I never really expected to buy anything, but the sale that he did, the amount of cars that he had for sale, his pricing, I thought was really, really fair. Obviously, I was also open to offers, um, which was fantastic. And then I was surprised at like the cards that I picked up. So do you want to go in? Do you want to start off with that or?
Yeah, man. Whatever you want to get into.
So I don't, unfortunately, as most of you know my situation, like obviously here in Europe, I have to have my cards shipped to a service within the US. So my cards are sitting in my ship my card inventory just now, but I picked up a 2010 premium pieces Hoist Gracie. It's got the shirt relic with this. It's a sticker auto, but it's my first ever Hoist Gracie auto.
Nice.
Super
That's an
pumped
early
to
one.
have that card. As I said, I was completely stoked with the price that I got that for. The other one was that was a PC card. Another PC card that couldn't believe was in the sale and couldn't believe that I got it for what I got it for was the 2014 knockout of Amanda Nunes. So I am a massive fan of Amanda Nunes, and I'm not to the point where I want to have multiple cards of hers, but I saw this card a long time ago on eBay. It's such a cool image of her. It's her walking. She's in the walkout. She has a hoodie on, so it's
Oh
not.
yeah,
It's not
yeah.
like it's an older photo, obviously from
Hmm.
2014. So this is before the Reebok era. So back when they had sponsored attire when they walk out, and just the demeanor on her face, she looks like the badass
Yeah.
that she
She
is. Like
looks mean, dude. I know the one you're talking about. That is a really nice card.
he had that in the ruby, and I was going to pick that card just up. I think you can get it in the silver or the gold. It's like number to 188, and I was more than happy to just pick that one up. I hadn't picked it up yet, and then anyway, I saw he had this ruby, which for those of you know, Tops knockout products, the rubies are numbered to 8, and the price that he had on it was super fair as it was, and I denied, so I put in a best offer instead.
Hmm.
And I was surprised that no one else wanted this card, and he ended up
Yeah.
accepting my offer. And that was probably my favorite pickup out of. I think I picked up about 15 or so cards out of
Yeah,
that
man.
order.
You were saying you had a Habib lot too, which I wish I would have. After you told me that, I was like, man, I should have paid closer attention to the Habib lot. You want to talk about those?
I got lucky with the Habib. So the Habib lot, it was a picture of just 10 cards. So they were all face up on a piece of cardboard,
Hmm.
just 10 cards lined up, like, one above and then 3 rows of three below that. And only because I've done so much research. So we just had the price listed on the piece of cardboard, like the lot, this is how much it was. And only because I've done so much research, I knew that like literally 7 out of the 10 cards of those, they were all numbered. They're all older Tops cards, all numbered. Um, and the price that he had on it was super fair. But then, so I waited because the sale was up for about 24 hours. I waited to see if is anyone else going to pick this up for his asking price. No one was commenting on it, and I just put in. I think that was one that I put in a best offer before at like 80% or something like that,
Uh-huh.
and no one else like. So I got it for my best offer of 80%, which was an absolute steal. But as I said, I think I just got lucky there because it wasn't advertised that the ones that were numbered were serial numbered. It was only just because I know these cards. For the most part, the older Tops ones that I do, that I got that for an absolute steal as well.
Yeah, man, that sale was so fun. I'm happy to hear you got some cars that you really enjoy that you're gonna put in your PC. This basically the same thing happened with me too with the you can see it up here, baby. The John Jones first
First
auto.
auto,
Finally got
yeah,
it,
got
guys.
it. You got it. Yeah, I was super happy for you to pick that up just while we're
Yeah, man.
talking about it. I knew
That was awesome.
Yeah, I knew you've been chasing that card for a real long time, and when I saw you comment on that one, I was like, yeah, I really hope you get this one, which obviously you did. So
And it was crazy, right? Because there was four, and I mean that's like a really sought after card. A lot of people are hunting for the John First Auto, and since it's coming from the UFC Card Father Eric, like I was like it's probably going to be in pretty good condition. He's a longtime collector. I'm sure he doesn't treat his cards with disrespect. And to have four up for grabs, and I don't think anyone else even put in I did the same as you. I put 85%. Nobody else even offered, and the price was real consistent with eBay and eBay pricing. But since it's a just a seller to seller sale, you don't have to pay any of the eBay fees, or the taxes. So it was probably much cheaper than I could have got on eBay. So really thankful. Shout out to Eric. If you guys aren't following his page, he really is a legend. Definitely the greatest collection of UFC cards from the Tops era. He's got so many different parallels of the older stuff. So thanks, man. Thanks for talking about that. When you get those Habibs in, if you're trying to move some, let me know because
Well,
oh,
we can finish off with that. So yeah, I got so the two other ones, as I said, I got 15 in total. 10 were Khabibs, one a Nunes, one Hoist Gracie, and then I got two GSPs. So two GSPs, same thing. I knew they were numbered. One of them, I actually have. I'll quickly show
oh,
this.
let's see it.
So I no, this isn't the GSP, but it's the same card. So this is
Oh, the
the
bloodlines.
2012 USC Finest Bloodlines. So and it's the gold is numbered to 88. So this is the gold, but the serial number's on the back. So same thing. Like I knew that was a numbered GSP to 88. It was a gold. The price was absolutely like more than fair on it. So I had to pick that up. I picked up a 2013 Finest Blue Refractor as well for GSP. But yeah,
Those are beautiful cards.
the Khabibs, I'm probably going to keep maybe one or two for the PC just to have some nice, like older tops Khabibs. But the other ones, I'm setting them off to get graded, and they're going to be ones that I want to sell in order to pay for the other PC pickups. So
Nice, man.
definitely, yeah,
Flipping.
we'll see how that goes, and I'll keep everyone like up to date with how that's a bit of a play that I made with that sale. And we'll see how it works out.
So since we're talking about tops, there's a lot of rumors about Fanatics, the NFL Players Association like dropped their license with Panini. Fanatics might be taking over, tops might be coming back. So kind of what do you think this means for the Panini cards? What does it mean for tops cards? Just in general, what are your thoughts on this whole saga that's going on?
Yeah, it's crazy. Like the Panini and Tops slash Fanatics war at the moment. For those of you who don't know, Fanatics own own Tops, the brand. Obviously there was talks like 12 months ago that Fanatics were also trying to buy Panini, but the war that's going on like between those two is absolutely crazy. As you said, Panini have now lost the is it the player or the team license? It was one of the two for the NFL. So
Mhm.
I didn't know this before this, but they're actually split into two different licenses, I guess. You've got teams and then you've got the players.
Interesting.
So two different associations. But yeah, it's crazy. If not if I shouldn't say if I'm like 99.99999% sure that we do see Tops UFC back.
Hmm.
Maybe not next year. As I said, I'm not sure what's going on with all this Panini stuff. But it's definitely pretty fishy. There's rumors that this is the last year for Panini UFC. But yeah, if when like Tops are making UFC products again, I think the older Tops cards are going to explode as well. But not only that, Eric made a good point when he did his interview with Matt Golden Octagon that I think a lot of these older collectors, the guys who were involved in 2009 and those first products, they've stayed away from Panini, to be honest. So I think
Yeah, very good point.
I think there's a good portion of people who they haven't exited the hobby, but they're basically waiting. So they haven't participated in Panini. I think they're going to come back when Tops is brought back. So you're going to see an influx of not
Hmm.
only new fans and new people, but you're going to see older collectors come back into the market as well, which is obviously a good thing. You're going to have people who are only familiar with Panini products. They're going to hear about Tops cards. They're going to see some of if Tops Chrome, Tops Finest get made again, which let's hope so it does.
Right.
And they're going to obviously become curious about it and they're going to go back, oh, wow, I didn't know that 2017 there was the first year of Tops Chrome. So I think
Hmm.
that's going to obviously lift the market as well for older Tops cards.
Yeah, I completely agree. I've so kind of comes into the next branch of this question. Based on the information of tops, potentially, like you said, 99% potentially coming back, which they probably will. Is this kind of changing any of your buys right now? Because I've always kind of enjoyed the era of fighters that were from the Topps print era, so I've always kind of been collecting them. But with this is pushing me a little bit to increase my or push forward my timeline of buying these guys. So I'm kind of trying to pick up the people that I can now. before it switches over to tops, because just like you're saying, I do think people are going to go back in time from then. So are you changing your strategies at all for buying?
So my strategy, as you said, has been leaning that way for like quite a good time now. I was fortunate enough through having my own channel, through making my own content, I sort of wanted to dive deeply into the UFC card hobby. So I learned about these older tops cards maybe a little bit quicker than what most people do when they come into the hobby. So I've been looking at tops products and sort of understanding that, yes, okay, tops may be making UFC cards, which is going to lift the older cards as well. But I'm a little bit torn at the moment, because if we do only have 3 years of Panini products, I mean, we can get to this as well, because
Yeah.
but like, I think some of these Prism products, if we only get 3 years of them, they're going to be, I think you're going to have to get in soon as well with some of these Prism products, because I think, I mean, it's hard to know, right? Like, obviously, we all wish we had that crystal ball to tell, but either people are going to forget about Panini products and just get obsessed with tops, which is probably going to happen at the start.
Yeah.
But then once we've had tops for a little bit, people may have nostalgia. They may reminisce on these Panini products again, which is going to be like, oh, let me go back and, oh, wow, that, Prism Rookie Gold was an absolutely insane card, and now I want that for my collection. So, yeah, it's going to go one of two ways, I think. Obviously, would love to know which one it is, but yeah, I've been a little bit the opposite. So I've focused so much on tops these past 6-12 months. Now I'm a little bit like, oh man, am I going to have the chance? Like, that FOMO kicks in. We always talk about. It's like, oh, am I going to miss my chance out to potentially get, Sean's third year like gold Prism? Like, so yeah. I can't really answer that for you, because it's something I'm actually having an internal battle with at the moment. But
Yeah, fair enough, man. So kind of talking about the switch to, Panini's only going to have a couple years of prints. So like there's some very specific Panini short prints cards, we got Color Blast, Animal Print, Kabooms, Downtown, Color Wheels, Rated Rookie. So like of all of these, let's do our like we're hopping in the DeLorean Back to the Future 2 style, and we're going 10 years into the future. Which in 10 years, which Panini like print are you going to want to have? What's the card that you're going to want to have in 10 years?
Well, I mean, at the top of the list, it's hard to go past. I'm going to say emphasize true gold prisms. So none of this disco gold, gold flashes, gold shimmers. No, I'm talking about the true prism gold, numbered to 10. I think that's going to be hard to top, to be honest, as the most desired product when people look back on these Panini products for UFC. It's just so much of a staple, not only in UFC, but obviously in every card hobby. Obviously too, I think I really like the rated rookies, man. And
yeah, me too.
I think that's another one. It's such a staple product, but they're so cool. Like, and Topps, Panini own that rated rookie brand, right? So I think that's another big reason that I think that they will be desired. I think it's just such a unique card, such a cool looking card. I wouldn't say, a rated rookie red number to 199. No, I think you're going to have to be a little bit more specific than that. As I said, once again, I would be going to more the golds number to 10, maybe the oranges, which are, I think, to 49. The other ones, Color Blast. Obviously, I came out of the closet a few weeks ago on my video and said that I'm not a fan of the Color Blast, which I might be the only one in the UFC hobby. But
shame.
But yeah, it's hard to not imagine. I mean, they are quite well loved. That they are quite a unique design as well. So it would be hard to not imagine that the Color Blasts are not a chase product in the future. I mean, but then again, you've got to go a little bit deeper. So, a fighter who's had 3 years of Color Blast, which one's going to be the most desired? Well, then you're going to go to the debut year of 2021. So
always.
That's the thing about this card hobby. And the more you discover and the more you think all right, I've got this now. I've got this. Oh, wait, no, there's another level to it that you didn't even know exists, like with autos, for example. Oh, you like, I got this auto, and oh wait, you can get a red ink auto. I was like, oh, okay, great. My card's not as cool as what I thought it was, but
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
From
no. So yeah, and then the other one too, I would have to chuck in there is the 2022 flashbacks, the gold prisms, because I think I haven't heard a UFC collector or anyone who's involved in UFC cards who has not liked that card, and I'm
yeah.
definitely one of them. So I think, and obviously, yeah, 2012 was the first year of Prism from Panini, so that's why they did, the 10-year anniversary in the
Oh, I didn't know
2022
that. Cool.
products.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why they had him in 2022. Obviously, they brought him back in 2023, which I actually didn't like. I think it just dilutes a little bit. Obviously, they put the auto on there, which is cool, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, the gold prisms flashbacks from 2022, I think will be a chase card as well.
Well, cool, man. Great answer to that one. I'm kind of with you in that for Panini, the print run has been so large on some of these products, man, which is I think is really kind of a negative thing that Panini's put into the UFC card hobby, particularly when you compare it to Tops. But I think for this Panini run, really like 10 of 10 and below is kind of where you need to sit when you're getting these cards, because even with the gold, like you're saying, like you have gold flash, gold disco, true gold. I mean, just of the of tens, you've got 30 right there. So
Yeah.
so when you continue to add all those up, I mean, it's really like a what a of you've got the five. I think the blue is a blue of eight. Then you've got
Oh, they
the
changed it. Yeah, I think it was 8 last year, and they changed it to 5 maybe this year,
yeah. So
I
so I
think.
mean, you've got maybe 40, 50 parallels just from of 10 and below. So I think if you guys are trying to, think of long-term cards from Panini that are really going to be rare and really going to be awesome, I think you really need to look, towards the lower end of the print runs for those. But I actually am I think the Color Blast is pretty cool, depending on the photo that they pick. I mean, God, they've picked some god-awful photos this year. The one of like Francis like just grabbing Cyril Gahn, like not even a compelling image at all. I saw, I think it was Usman's doing like a weird like flamingo kick. You can only see like one of his legs or something, but I think there's some cool images on the debut Color Blast that I think are really going to stand the test of time, and really be like, because that is kind of one of Panini's staples, right? In other sports too, is that like all white background with a nice color in it.
Yeah, you could definitely put in the kabooms, and like the downtowns
Yeah.
last year were. I think Joe said it best when he did. I think the checklist on that video last, like the downtowns from last year, literally looked like a 12-year-old kid had
Yeah.
like done the design. So like they were terrible. If you look at the downtowns for other sports, like they are super nice cards, super cool cards. And the UFC ones were just absolutely terrible. So hopefully, if they make Optic again this year, if they can improve on that. But yeah, the kabooms as well. I would love to see an improvement on the kabooms. I don't know if we're going to get it, but the kabooms are another super unique, cool card
Mhm.
that, if they do the right design, I think would be super desirable as well.
Yeah, the downtowns were so bad, dude. But I think Wei Lee's downtown actually, I think, is a cool design. One of the very few that they did with that set. I was really excited about that because the from like a design perspective, you really have creative license to just do whatever you want that relates to the fighter in the background. And they made some really weird choices on what to put.
Yeah. No, yeah, as I said, like that they have so much, room to make these really cool cards, and they just they drop the ball real bad on that one. It's like they didn't even care. It's like, oh, we'll give the UFC design to this, secondary school over here, and those kids can work on that, and we'll
To let them
concentrate on,
color in it.
yeah.
We just came off. I know for you was probably the biggest UFC event of all time with your favorite fighter, the guy that you've been piecing forever, that you've been rooting for years. We know his name, the Suga Show, Sean O'Malley. Take me through. I want a real detailed introspective journey that you went through, because fighting is one of the weird sports where like it really does affect you emotionally as far as like the outcome more than a normal sporting event. So like how was that seeing a guy that you've been following and rooting for so long finally, get to the top?
Well, yeah, I'll give you the full uncensored like answer to this question, because man, it was an emotional ride. And to like add to your point, I've like I'm since I was a really young kid, I've had rugby teams that I've supported. They've won premierships. Like, so I've had that emotional roller coaster, but like nothing compares. Like, I mean, I haven't had an individual athlete that I've ever followed before. So, but nothing compares to, as I said, whether it's fighting, whether it's just the fact that, you know, you've got all this emotion invested in just one athlete, and it's not spread across a team. But yeah, I mean, it obviously, I couldn't believe, out of everything, it was announced on my birthday. I was
Oh
meant to
yeah, I forgot
actually,
about that.
obviously I don't want to, we won't go too deep into this part, but I was meant to be there. I had planned, when I actually told my fiance last year, before he fought Peter Yan, I said, if he wins this fight, he's going to be fighting for the belt next year. I knew that. Like, to be honest, like, I know UFC is a business, so I knew that I knew that UFC were going to push him. If he beat Peter Yan, he was going to be fighting for the title this year. So I told my fiance, I said, if he wins this fight, I'm going to his title fight next year.
Yeah.
It would have been super expensive, but it's once in a lifetime thing. As it turned out, with my visa here, I'm Australian living in Sweden. I had visa complications at only at this exact time of year. For the next 3 months, I can't basically travel anywhere. So when the fight got announced at August of all time, on my birthday, I knew it was going to clash with this visa thing. So I was really bummed I couldn't go. As I said, I'd hyped myself up since October last year when he beat Yan that I was going to be going to this title fight. Whether I go or not in December is still up in the air. If he fights in December, obviously first, but I'm going to try and make that if I can. But yeah, the fight itself, I had to watch it the next day just because with the US, with events, it's like we're 8 hours, 10 hours, depending on what time zone ahead of you guys. So normally the fight, you know, I considered watching it live at 4 a.m., but I also knew that like I had family commitments with my birthday that evening and then the next day. So I thought, no, I'm not going to go on social media, and I'll have to just watch it a few hours after, which I did that on the Sunday. So I think from the Saturday afternoon, I was just like, I can't go on Instagram. I can't do anything on my phone, which was fine. Like, I was never going to spoil it for myself. It sort of hurt knowing.
So you were able to make it without any spoils?
Yeah. I've done this before
Man.
with, as I said, like with other like team sports and stuff. I've had good practice with this over my over my fandom years, but it honestly hurt. Like, I felt weird knowing that the event had happened and I didn't know what the result was. I felt like maybe the only person in the world, but anyway, made it through. Yeah, leading up to the fight, like I felt fine, like with the card and opening fight, but when it got to the co-main with the Zheng Wei Li and Amanda Lemos, I was like, oh, we're only one fight away now, so the feelings really brought up. And then on his walkout, when Bruce Buffer was doing like the fight announcements, I was just like, you gave me the idea in one of my comments on my videos, like, check it, like, I'd love to know your heart rate. And I'm like, well, I've actually got a smartwatch, so I could be able to check that out. And yeah, I mentioned it, like my heart rate's normally resting between 50 and 60, and it was like up over above 90 just when Bruce Buffer was doing his thing. So I was really feeling it, and my eyes were just glued to the TV. The whole first round, I didn't know how the fight was going to play out. It was really 50-50 for me. Like, I knew Sean had the ability to do that, but I also know how good Aljo was. To be fair to Aljo, super great, like the way that he handled the fight, but it was a quick turnaround for him. But anyway, second round started, and it didn't take long. Like, the knockdown happened so fast, like, and just the way that Aljo face planted, I just jumped up. I was sitting on the couch, jumped up, and then I was on my feet going like, do it. And like, he was hitting some of these some good ground and pound, and I mentioned this in the video as well. He hit Aljo with one shot that really was like picture perfect, similar to what he hit Thomas Almeida. Like, I'm not sure how many people are familiar with the Thomas Almeida fight, but when Sean got his second knockdown in the last round of that Thomas Almeida fight, he went to walk off and do a walk-off KO, and then the ref was like, no, keep going. So Sean just walked up and just hit him like with the biggest ground shot you've ever seen in your life, and like Thomas was out after that. But he hit Aljo with the exact same shot, and it just looked picture the exact same. So after he hit that one, I was like, no, it's done. and I think he did one or two more, and Aljo was sort of rolling around, and the ref called it off, and I just like I couldn't believe it. I turned my fiance. I was like, I was choked up. Like I was like, he did it. Like I just was in disbelief, and was like couldn't believe it, honestly. Like I was shocked, like had so much rush of like adrenaline, happiness.
Hmm.
And then I spoke about this as well. Like when all the fight interviews were done, I was sort of sitting on the couch and I was just like, I had this massive come down. It was so strange. Like I didn't expect that. I would have thought I was going to be over the moon for the next like 2 weeks. Like I thought I was just had this massive like relief and happiness for the next 2 weeks. But literally like within 10 minutes, I felt the best way I could explain it was like I felt a little bit empty. As you mentioned, like I've watched this guy since 2018 and had watched like part of the way that I got become such a fan of him. Like I watched every video there was of him on YouTube, even before he started his podcast, and then him and his coach started their podcast, and then like you watch so much content on someone, you feel like you know them. So even before this fight, like when I watch Sean fight, it's like it's like I'm watching my friend fight. It's so
Yeah.
strange. Like
Yeah.
that's only the best way I can describe it.
Hmm.
But yeah, I was like, I sort of felt a little bit like I felt empty, and I'm like, what? Like, what's wrong with me? But it was a little bit like, well, okay, you've watched this guy for so long, like, what next? That was a
Hmm.
question that I sort of felt like I was asking myself because I felt empty. It's like, watch this guy for so long to get to this point. The build up to it had been so like I'd been excited for this fight for like the last 3 months since it had been announced to get to the event, to have the emotions that I had during the event, and then for him to win the way that he did was just like, like you blast through the ceiling and then it
Right.
happens, and it's like you sort of come back down here, and it's like, what, like where do I go now from here? So it really hit me quite hard, and that was as much as I was like overjoyed that he did it. Like, yeah, as I said, I got sucker punched in the gut with like this feeling of like, man, like this is so strange too, like a come down. So even like still now, it's a little bit like obviously he's going to be fighting and he's a champ now, but yeah, it's like I really can't explain it. Like as I said, I would hope that everyone can experience this at some point, to have an athlete who they've watched for like a really long time. And part of me wanted to be like, I got to go like watch Dana White Contender Series next Tuesday and find another athlete to do this all over again with, like from the
Yeah.
very start. So, yeah, I mean, as I said, it was super high, came back down, and now it's just like, all right, well,
Now what, right?
on to the
Yeah,
next
now
one, I
what?
guess. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a couple like really interesting psychology things in there that you were talking about. One, nowadays with social media, with YouTube, with podcasts, like the ability to almost feel like you know someone through technology is at an all-time high, and it's specifically with these athletes because they're putting out so much content, which is great, not only for them so they can, get more money, become monetized, all that, but it's also great for us as fans to be able to relate, and to be able to get that connection with, your favorite athletes. So whenever they do get in there, it is almost like seeing your friend get in a fight. And I've had that experience of seeing my friend get in a fight before, and it really almost is kind of like that, where you're like adrenaline is very heightened. You kind of have a spike. You're like very in tune with what's going on. And that is a really unique thing with fighting sports because for whatever reason, I don't know if other sports don't put out as much content or if it's because it's not a singular focused sport and an individual sport. You don't feel that as connected to, like, say, an NBA player or, a football player as you do with these fighters. That's a really interesting thing that you mentioned. Another really interesting thing that you mentioned is a lot of times you hear these fighters, when they do become champions, they almost have the exact same feeling that you just mentioned. I just became the champion. Why do I still feel like, why do I feel the same or even empty? I just fulfilled my life's dream. So that's
Mm,
really interesting to almost hear that. And I do understand what you're saying. I wasn't following Leon Edwards like quite as hard as you were, or as long, but to see the journey and see, these guys become champions when they are real big underdogs going in. Granted, Suga was a way bigger underdog, with Aljo than Leon was with Usman, but people were still writing both of them off, and that's really funny to hear you say, where do you go from now, right? And the
Yeah, I
parallel,
mean,
it's
and
crazy.
the other like I guess crap on top of the cake for that one too was like immediately I thought of his cards. I couldn't help but think of his cards, and I know we talked a little bit on Instagram. Like, I'm so glad. Obviously, I picked up that sapphire of his 2018
Hmm.
museum rookie. I had convinced myself it's like I don't know whether he's going to win because I know if he lost, like he wasn't. We're not saying he's the most hyped fighter and he had the highest pricing, but his pricing was very, very decent for his
Hmm.
accomplishments. I mean, even leading into the Yarn fight. So when he won the championship, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to afford his cards anymore.
Yeah.
And that was part of the come down too. It was like this athlete, this guy who I PC is so strong, like he's clearly my main PC. Like I might not be able to afford his cards anymore. So that sort of sucked. Like, that was like almost like the second punch in the gut at the same time. It's like I don't. So I mean, I do know I've done enough card pricing stuff to know it always comes back around, right? And that's the one thing about the UFC. Last month we had 292. Sean O'Malley became equally probably the second biggest star in the UFC. I'm not going to put him ahead of Israel Adesanya because I honestly think Israel Adesanya is super underrated, not
Hmm.
only for his superstar power, but also as far as his card pricing. But UFC next week, we've got Adesanya fighting again and Sean Strickland. So the UFC, they're masters at be like, all right, we had this massive event
Yep.
here,
Boom,
roll it
boom,
on to the
boom,
next
boom,
one.
boom.
And everyone forgets about like,
Hmm.
I remind myself every week of the knockout that Adesanya just had earlier on this year against Alex Pereira. That was
Dude.
probably the top
Yeah.
three greatest moments in UFC championship history. I mean, if
Hmm.
people don't understand the significance of that knockout and the result of that fight, but who like I feel like
And
99% of
we
people
all
they don't even
forgot.
remember
We
that they
all
don't even
forgot.
remember that happening.
For
So
sure.
like that's what I mean. The UFC is just turning on to the next one, turning on to the
Mhm.
next one, turning on to the next one. So I sort of hope in turn to, as I said, we're gonna have if O'Malley fights again in December, maybe we'll have a lull period around October or so when his pricing has come back. Like I saw it in my pricing last week. Like his pricing came back. It was August 20th, the day after. It was insane.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, 292 sales like in one day when he had 93 sales leading into the week leading into the event.
Hmm.
So, I mean, yeah, it's going to come back down eventually. And that was why I was okay if he lost because I knew he would be back there eventually, whether it's next year or the year after. I knew he would be back, but I was sort of the silver lining if he lost that fight was like his pricing is going to come down and I'm going to get to pick up
Uh-huh.
some of these cards that I really want for good prices. But I guess that's as I said, the crap on top of the cake. Now that he won, it's like, well, I've got to wait now and see what happens. And that's why I haven't emotionally bought because that's one thing I really love to do. And I hope other collectors do that as well. Is if they have an athlete, whether whether they're ranked, whether they're not ranked, it doesn't matter. If you watch that athlete and at that event and they win in, whether it's in a decision or whether it's whatever, however they win in whatever fashion, I like to then buy a piece of cardboard, a sports card to commemorate the feelings that I had during that fight. So then I would then go on eBay and be like, all right, boom, I'm going to buy this card of Max Holloway because he just knocked out Korean Zombie. And now, whenever in 10 years' time, when I look at this card, I'm going to tie it back to that fight.
Hmm.
I normally do that every single time, but obviously my common sense prevailed and I didn't do that with Sean O'Malley. And I'm glad I didn't in a way that, yeah, I would have emotionally overpaid, which is okay too, but I'm trying to be a bit smarter,
Right.
especially with all the money I've spent lately as well.
Yeah.
Just trying to be a bit smarter with my hobby dollars. So I'll still buy a card to commemorate this victory, but it's just not yet.
Hmm. Yeah, you definitely don't want to overpay too many times. I overpay on cards that I've been looking for a long time and they finally pop up. If it's a little bit, overpaying is fine to really get the card that you want. Don't let, 10 or $15 keep you from making the sale of the item that you really want. You mentioned on there the underpricing of Adesanya, and it made me think of like these great champions that are underpriced in the UFC card market. And Aljo was really one of those champions. Now, granted, he had a very bizarre run in his championship reign. You have the illegal knee where he gets the title. Then he beats Jan pretty decisively. Then he fights, Dillashaw with like the shoulder issue, where me personally, I think Aljo cooks Dillashaw in that fight, regardless of the shoulder injury. To then finally having like a real solidified win over Cejudo, which, some people say can debate that, but to me it was pretty decisive that Aljo won that fight. But for his pricing to just be so low was insane, man. So kind of, do you want to speak on kind of like how some of these guys like Izzy, some of these guys like Aljo are just like some of the best of all time in their weight division, and the pricing still isn't there on some of their cards compared to other fighters?
Yeah, sure. But just to clarify first, obviously, I don't have like Aljo and Izzy on the same level in card pricing. Like, obviously, Izzy is already one of the most expensive guys in the hobby, but he should be. Like, he should be the most expensive. He's not the most expensive, but I think he should be.
Yeah,
But back to Aljo, yeah, I think you put the nail on the head with he had that bizarre way that he took the title. He wasn't a big name fighter even leading into the title. He was sort of undeniably the number one contender, but not to the fans because he has a more boring style. I mean, even me, like I've been watching UFC for a long time, but the way that I remembered Aljo was, getting kneed in the head by Marlon Moraes and getting
yeah,
doing the dab
yeah,
on the way down of his KO.
the
So,
Magic Man putting
um,
them out.
but yeah, like I mean, we see this curse happen all the time in UFC. Like it happened to Volkanovski. It happened to who's another former champion that we like Kamaru Usman. He's another like absolute
Yeah.
great of the welterweight division, and his cards like don't get anywhere near the love that they should. And then you could go as Robert Whittaker as another one. Like his cards are in the gutter, and he's a former two-time champion, and like still, in my opinion, even though he lost to Duplessis, but he's number two best middleweight in the world still. But like you have these fighters, and it just doesn't matter so much about how good they are. They just don't break the barrier for the fans, and they don't break the barrier then in the card market. So I mean, poor old Aljo, I think he was getting there. Like as you said, he had that his first real legitimate good win. You mentioned like obviously people wrote off the TJ win. The way that he won the belt with the legal knee, people did not like the way that he handled that situation.
Which to
He had
me,
the he
dude, the UFC the MMA fandom is so crazy. Like for people to just with the vitriol and hatred when a guy gets absolutely obliterated and can't continue. Sorry to cut you off, but the fandom is insane sometimes, man.
they are brutal.
They're
For
just rabid.
MMA fans, man, are brutal. Like you follow some of your favorite fighters, check their Instagram comments. Like some of the comments they get is absolutely nasty.
Dude,
Like
full of
anyway,
trolls everywhere.
it's so ironic, like these guys are the best fighters in the world, and then you'll still get people on the internet talking
Uh-huh.
shit to them. It's like, but anyway, yeah. I think Aljo was there. He was there. He had that really good victory against Cejudo. Definitely his best and most decorated win at the top. And he was sort of helped building, like he did his part. He helped build that O'Malley fight. He was
Yeah.
entertaining at the press conference. He did his best. It was all like Sean leading the way. Like Aljo was meeting him at that dance in order to build the hype of the fight. I think he was doing a great job. But as I said, it comes back to just this curse where they're not like people just don't get behind him for whatever reason. They could be the world's best fighter. Like you're talking about, as I said, Volkanovski. The only thing that's helped Volkanovski is the fact that Islam fight. I mean, before the
Yeah.
Islam fight, Volkanovski was hated as well by the fans, and then he went up a division. I mean, like credit to him, I didn't give him a chance against Islam, and I thought that fight was a draw. I know we've talked about that as well, but since then,
Yeah.
like Volkanovski went from here, and now he's up here, so he's won the fans over one fight. I honestly think, in my opinion, I really like Aljo. I thought he was a bit sort of, cringe or cheesy or whatever you want to call it. But the way that he handled that loss was like the most professional way that I've ever seen any athlete handle a loss, the way that he handled the loss against O'Malley. And I think, in my opinion, that erases the way that he handled the win against Jan with the illegal knee. I think those two things erase each other. I've seen people comment on his stuff
Yeah,
in
me too.
support of him the way that I
Mhm.
feel now too. Like I didn't go into that fight a fan of Aljo, but I left a fan of Aljo. And I think, listen, if he goes up now to 45 and then can obviously not fight Volkanovski straight away, beat a top contender, whether it's, who knows, Bryce Mitchell, Ilya Taporia, Mozart, whoever you want to chuck in there, I think that that is going to help him win over the fans. And you're going to see, I honestly think that Aljo is going to increase his popularity after this fight, just based off those things.
Yeah, for sure, man. One thing that's real interesting to me with this MMA world of like, and specifically not just the popularity of fighters, but the card pricing. If you just like take a step back and look at other sports, the only thing that, not the only thing, the thing that people are judged by is how they perform in the arena. Nobody cares about what Jokic personality is like. They care that he gets triple doubles. He's a walking triple double and he wins championships. I kind of am under that blanket of what I like from fighters. Obviously, I like when people are entertaining, but maybe it's because I enjoy the actual X's and O's of the sport more that I can enjoy watching Aljo grapple. But it's so weird to me that people put so much emphasis on the showmanship when the showmanship is what you're doing in the octagon. The showmanship is Volkanovski putting on absolute masterclass performances. Like, why I don't get why people care so much about how brash and the bravado outside of the sport. Like, obviously that it's fun to like watch press conferences and stuff, but like I just want people to give more respect to winners. Like, if you're, that's the whole point, is to win.
Well, like everything, I like to have a theory. I spend too much time thinking about these cards, but and the sport in general. But I honestly think it doesn't help. The UFC don't have, like, obviously the cards are very new. The sport in itself is very new. The UFC doesn't have a designated like greatest of all time. Like people argue about few but you go to other sports. All right, NFL. Okay, you got Tom Brady. All right, NBA. You've got LeBron. You've got Kobe. You've got Jordan. Baseball, you've got, I don't know anything about baseball. You might have to ask Eric about that. But
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like we've got
yeah,
these
yeah.
designated greatnesses that people can then make comparisons to. So it's easy to say, oh, Jokic, yeah, he's got a championship, he's got all these stats. So we know where the bar is, right, on these other sports.
Okay.
So that's where I feel like it's a little bit easier to then, okay, well, we can compare this. Like UFC, it's like, all right, well, we can't even decide if is it John Jones, is it George St. Pierre, is it who is it? Like who is it? We don't even know yet. We can't even make a decision on who the greatest of our sport is to do it so far. Because like the list is so wide at the moment that we
Yeah.
don't then have anything to compare the athletes who are competing just now back to.
The answer to that question is unanimously John Jones is the greatest of all time, by the way. The stats, the longevity, the championship runs, the style, like with steroid allegations, to me, it's not, there's not really a close second. There's some amazing fighters, but nobody's even close. But that is a great point. What made me also think just now, hearing you talk about that, was in normal sports, there's no weight classes, right? So in the NBA, there's no differentiation between different
Yeah,
sectors. Whereas within the UFC, you got multiple weight classes. Is a guy that's
multiple
doing it,
champions.
yeah, is a guy that's doing it at the highest weight classes. Does that weigh more than the guy that, is a tiny human in general? So that's actually a really good point that I never thought of, where it's literally a level playing field with other sports where it's real bracketed within MMA, which may come into the equation when you're talking about stuff like that.
Yeah, well, I've got an easy answer for this one as well. I know the UFC are out there and they're watching us right now because they love
the
us.
the brass are out
Brass.
there.
Dana, hey, buddy, yeah, yeah. UFC just need to do what Pride did. Put them all in a big competition. No weight classes. Get Mark Hunt in there against Brendan Marino.
Oh
Let's
man.
let's do
Yeah.
it, and then we can have an overall champion, and that's the guy.
Yep. That's
Yep.
the goat. That's the goat.
Yeah.
Okay. So to round it out here, thanks again for coming on, man. This is always a good time. Let's talk a little bit. Let's bring it back more into the card arena per se. Let's get in our card minds, and let's talk about some of the pricing that we've seen. So there's some crazy rookie prices right now. You got Bo Nickel. One that I saw that I thought was more interesting than Bo Nickel was the Tatsuro Taira, and it was his price of an Emerald of 5 Octagon side was higher than the first auto John Jones that I bought. How does that make any sense? Do you do any rookie prospecting? How do you value these guys?
We got another 2 hours, or
Yeah, right.
yeah, I'll try and keep this one as short as I can for you, but definitely another big question that I could talk about like for ages. Working backwards, I don't do any rookie prospecting for two reasons, and to keep it short, it doesn't often work out. We've seen that not only UFC, but it's like UFC fighters are just one punch away from a market crash.
Yep.
And then the other reason why I don't do it, I can't spend. I don't want to allocate. I want to be smart with my hobby dollars. I don't want to allocate, my monthly budget on Tatsuro when I could be buying a cool O'Malley card or a cool Holloway card. So that's really the two biggest reasons why I don't do it. But in saying that, I definitely think there's place for it. I think it's important. I mean, we see it in all the other sports. You have, once again, I don't know anything about baseball, ask Eric, but like NFL, you see all these quarterback like prospects, and they're selling for more than what Tom Brady did, or whoever. Like it's just a thing, right? It's like people. There's definitely that gambling aspect when it comes to the sports card hobby. Like there's that component of it where people they want that win, so they want to put their money here and then make this amount of money over here. So the only way to do that is to prospect with rookies. But as I said, I'm sort of in a little bit gonna like get to this. I'm, with my hobby direction at the moment, the dream is, right, you want to pay for your cool PC cards through your other hobby dollars. So
Yeah,
I'm definitely I'm a believer that it's doable. If it was me who was to do it, I would think that I would be looking back. You don't want to be buying, as you said, Bo Nickel, Tatsuro. Who's another big rookie from 2023?
Madalena,
Madalena.
Alex Pereira,
You got your guy
Blanchfield.
Rinat. Yeah, I mean Alex
Rinat,
Pereira a little bit different. He's been at the
yeah,
top. But so like I would be taking my focus away from those guys, and then I would be going back to the rookies of last year. So it's a little bit of secret juice for the guys who have made this video all the way to the end, because shout out to them. As you know, if you're a viewer and you're still watching us talk about cards right now, like you are a real one. Like you are. Shout out to you. But
we're making this video just for you watching right now. We're making it just for
you
you
right now. Look back into 2022, because people have forgotten about them because they're distracted by 2023 prospects. And you've got some really, really, like Tom Aspinall. Who's thinking about Tom Aspinall not now? Like right now, like he's basically one fight away from the title, if not the next title contender after Jones and Miocic. Like, and he's a phenomenal fighter too. He is a phenomenal fighter. Like,
and extremely young.
You could be picking up his cards right now when no one's thinking about him, because he's still a rookie from last year. He's still relevant. He's going to be at the top soon, and then sell him when like he's fighting for the title. You don't have to wait till after he's won the belt, but like no one's thinking about him now. Yeah, you're not going to 6x your money. Like you might 6x your money if he wins the title, but like you might double your money from when you bought him now, because there was not much demand because no one was really thinking about him. Same with Mozart Evolov, is it?
Yeah,
like he's an absolute he's an absolute beast in the featherweight division. He's 1-2 fights away. Everyone's thinking about Topuria right now, which is fair enough. Topuria is a phenomenal fighter as well, but the featherweight division is pretty shallow at the moment, to be honest. Like Volkanovski is almost cleaned out the division. So you're going to have these fighters like Mozart, who no one's thinking of right now. You pick up his gold-rated rookie for, maybe $200, and then when he's fighting for the title, turn around and sell it for whatever. Like when people are going to be prospecting, like you want to be a step ahead of everyone else, which is hard to do sometimes, but there's definitely like ways to do it, in my opinion.
You want to be a step ahead, and you don't want to you want to leave yourself some wiggle room to work in, like you were saying. Like with guys like Tatsuro, Bo Nickel, Pereira is already a champ, so a little different. His pricing should be higher. Even Blanchfield up until her performance a couple days ago, like you want to buy in low on these rookies just so your risk is a little bit mitigated. Really the only guy that I was able to buy in low on this year was Renat, which sucked because I wanted to get more Jack Della Maddaleno. I love watching him fight, but like the pricing just didn't quite make sense when you have some of these guys that are longtime champions or legends already that you can literally get some of their best cards for like cheaper than some of these rookies. So yeah, man, it boggles my mind, and I don't understand why other sports sectors do this as well. The backup quarterback thing is boggles my mind too. And I guess it, like you were saying, it just comes down to people that have more of like a long-term collecting mentality versus like a quick flip, where like if you're trying to make a quick flip, you can't really do that with guys that have already cemented their legacy. But you can do that with guys that are up and coming rookies. So maybe that's kind of the mindset is like if you're a high risk, quick flip type of person, then maybe you enjoy making these plays. But for guys like us that are more like long term risk averse collectors, just go just go with the legends. Wait for the guy to prove wait for Tatsuro Taira to prove that he's a champion and then buy his cars for probably cheaper than they're going for now. It's crazy.
Yeah. No, perfect example. Like I thought it was really like I was really big on Raul Rosas Jr. I mean, he was a release in this year's Prism,
Yep.
and I thought it was really significant. He was the youngest ever fighter signed by the UFC, so I thought that in itself was incredible, and I thought was something that would help boost him, not only now but in the future. If we look back 10 years, as you said, we've gone in DeLorean, we've skipped ahead 10 years. If he's a potential champion or maybe a two-weight champion, to him to also have the cap of I'm the youngest ever athlete signed by
Yep.
the UFC,
Big time.
that puts him up here, right? Like that gives him that edge over everyone else. But yeah, as you said, like if you are trying to do this quick flip stuff, the only thing I would also be a disclaimer is it's really a rule of averages because you might buy like you really need to be doing it at high volume, right? You can't just be
Mhm.
buying one rated rookie of one fighter and holding on to that because that might not pan out. Like you need to be biting maybe three of that fighter, three of this fighter, three of that fighter, three of that, and have like 12 cards. And then that way, six of them might not work out, the other six work out. So then that equals out and equals out the six that didn't work it out. So it's really like in my own sort of opinion when it comes to quick flipping, like if you're going to be quick flipping, like you need to do it over averages. You're not going to have these
Yeah.
10x on just one card. You need to sort of build your way up. And yeah, it's a really a game of hot potato that is hard to master. I don't even know if it's that doable in the UFC, to be completely honest, but we'll only see with time.
Yeah, to me that whole game is just way too laborious, man. Like it's too much work trying to, do I like doing the research on the fighter, so that's not too much work, but to buy looking for all these deals, right? Because you got to buy in low if you're trying to flip. You don't want to buy at top end, and then from there you have to try and market the card. Whether you're trying to sell on Instagram to avoid fees to up your profit, are you trying to list it on eBay? And then when you list it on eBay, you have to worry about shipping all these cards that you bought that you're trying to flip. And to me, that's not to me that's just not worth the hassle. Which is probably another reason why I don't try and rookie prospect as much as a lot of these other people. I don't know. Secret juice. Let the guys get there first before you buy them. You're already buying in, at like a Tyra, for example, at $1,000. It does not have any room to continue to increase. Like it's just not going to happen. We've seen it. We were talking about Izzy. His first autos are 1,500. He's one of the more expensive guys nowadays. He's a legend, encroaching, in my opinion, as the best middleweight of all time. In a couple years, he could definitely do that. And his pricing is, comparable to Tyra. Just let it wait. Let it wait. Let it marinate.
Yeah, and yeah, same thing. Like, and the other tip is don't buy just after they've won or fight week,
Hmm.
please, because yeah, same thing. You were buying in at maximum value. Just wait. All right, say okay, I like this card. This is the card I want to get, but I'm going to get it in 4 weeks' time when everyone else has moved over to the next event. So
Yeah, 100%. Well, thanks again, Damian. This was another super fun time. We were talking offline. Hopefully, we can make this a somewhat common occurrence. Thanks for taking the time out to come on my channel, the Box Alarm Trading channel, and
yeah.
hopefully, I'll be over back in the UFC Card Talk and back in your corner here soon.
Yeah, no, anytime, Zach. I mean, anytime that you and I can get together, talk about cards, yeah, I'd never say no. So definitely open to making this a more regular thing. Let us know, people. What do you want? What do you want? You want to see us do this more regularly? I'd be, yeah, more than happy to do that. I mean, even if it's just my own value, because I, yeah, really appreciate getting with you and talking with cards. So thanks again for having me. Absolute blast, and yeah, we'll do it again.
Yeah, man. If you're not already, go follow Damian over at UFC Card Talk. He has really good Instagram, really good YouTube. Give him a follow. All right, man. Thank you.
Thanks, Zach.